Today's show is brought to you by Audible, and right now you can get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/joined-up. There's over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle or MP3 player. Thanks for tuning in to the Joined Up Writing Podcast, a weekly show featuring interviews with fantastic authors sharing their personal stories on how and why they write. There's hints and tips for aspiring writers and great book reviews from top bloggers. Follow us on Twitter at JU Podcast. Right, cue the cheesy theme tune.
Put down your pen and stop your typing. Grab yourself a drink, cause it's Joined Up Writing. The Epilogue.
Yes, it's the Epilogue, our bonus in-between episodes, a quick listen containing an extra question or topic not covered in the original interview. And this week, CJ Wiley returns to talk about his superb free online resource, Scripts Revolution. And we also chat about what it really means to be creatively obsessed. If you missed it, you can find CJ's full interview from last week over at joinedupwriting.co.uk, or, even better, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast or wherever else you get your podcasts to get a new episode downloaded automatically every single week. We've got a huge archive of interviews, 2-minute tips, epilogues and writing chats for you to enjoy, and it's all completely free. And if you still can't wrap your head around podcasts, well, get a grip, but you can at the very least just hit the subscribe button over at joinedupwriting.co.uk, and that way you'll get a little email every Tuesday to let you know that the new episode is available to listen to. Right, let's crack on with the interview. For this, I wanted to specifically mention, we didn't really touch on it in the main interview, but your Script Revolution website. And I thought we could start just by just telling us how you originally got your own work out there when you started writing these scripts and things. It's one thing writing a script and then just hiding it in the drawer, isn't it? Or sending it off like some madman to some movie studio.
Yeah. Well, you just end up spamming. You know, that's how bad it. That's how dark it gets for people who it feels like that. Creatives aren't designed to be salesmen. Writers aren't marketers, and it's so bad out there. It's been so bad out there that people have produced great work and they've just got no idea what to do with it. No idea whatsoever. They're fretting and they're upset and they're paranoid, and there's a load of scaremongering out there. And I found that when I first written. And I got sucked into the system, like a lot of people do, of buying competition entries, of paying for listings on websites. It got really dark and really painful when I started buying these evaluation reports that put you on these scored lists, where your average score matters. And it was a horrible experience because a lot of people get into writing when they're quite desperate, and I've got a lot of people, they're years in and they're just thinking, when's this going to, and they just keep throwing money at it. So I got sick and tired, and I spent years just getting really frustrated, thinking, why doesn't someone just build a free hosting platform for screenwriters to put their material on? I could do it. It's simple. I'm not, and I just kept saying, I'm not doing it. It's too much work. I'm just inventing work for myself. It's a huge hurdle to overcome. And I got to the point, and I was just like, I have to do this, because my philosophy is, if I fantasize with the idea of becoming, I want to use the word rich and famous. It's terrible. Rich and famous enough to make something happen. Why can't I do that now? Because you can't just wait till that fictional time to do something. And I thought, well, if I can do it now, I should do it, even if it's not brilliant. So sat down for a few months and learned like crazy what I need to do on the technical side and push myself as hard as possible. And I built this site called scriptrevolution.com, which is a free hosting website for scripts, and it's free for any filmmaker. There's no exclusivity or anything like that. Any filmmaker can go on there and they can look through this stuff, and it does stuff that even the paid for websites don't do, and it works on the philosophy that you need to get all your work out there. People need to know about your other material if they like one of your scripts, and you need to give it time. You need it to sit there long enough till it hits the right person, and then that person needs to connect and stick. And I believe it does that.
Yeah, it's brilliant. As you say, it's a great idea, and it's one of those things. I think we all do it. We're like, why isn't there anything like this? I mean, I've done it myself with things, but I'm too lazy and I don't actually do it. That's the difference. I mean, I know that when I've been to like a couple of BBC writers' room things, whenever they do the Q&A sections, you always get at least one person. It's usually two or three. Start wittering on about copyright. They start saying, "What? How do I know that when I send you my manuscript that you're not going to copy the idea?" And all that? And they always, I completely understand why. People that they ask it to, whoever it is from the BBC's writers' room or whatever, they always just laugh and say, "Well, the whole idea with it is that only you can write that script. If it's good enough, if the voice is good enough, like you're talking about voice, which I think is the most important thing. And I mean, that's one of the things they kept going on about." The BBC writers' room, they were, when they were talking about what they were looking for, was the most important thing was that voice, that something stands off the page, and it's like you're saying something that kind of nobody else can say in that way. So do you think maybe that plays into it with some people? So you think some people worry, well, I'm putting my script up onto this public website and people can just go on there and rip the idea off? Do you think there's an element of that?
Oh man, I think it's kind of entwined with a naivety about how things are going to work out. People thinking that the script they've got sat in front of them is worth millions of dollars if the right person sees it. It's hard to not get a little bit upset when people make comments like, I don't want Joe Blow looking at my script. And it's like, Joe Blow's probably the best you're going to do at this stage, and it's a privilege. I have worked around that. Originally, you had to upload material. Now you don't have to upload the actual script. People can request it from you if you want. That is going to massively limit your exposure. The way I see it is, for me personally, this is my dream. If someone was to take one of my scripts and do something with that, obviously it would be traumatizing, upsetting, and I'd have to take what legal action I could against that. But here's the deal. It takes me about 3 months to write a script. I'm in it for the long term. If someone came to me tomorrow and said, I can't use any of your existing scripts because they've all been published online and I'm worried about someone's already made them or whatever, I'm just going to be, I'll write the next one. And that'll be no problem at all, thank you, because I'm determined about this. When you look at the rates writers earn, WGA minimums are very favourable if you can get the work. And I just find this concept absurd that someone's, in some cases they've put 3 months of their life into writing one script and they kind of think the world owes them, an absolute fortune. I don't get it. I don't think like that. My attitude, and perhaps it's not one people like to hear, is, sweep the floors for free and make myself indispensable.
Yeah, no, I think now more than ever that's the case. With most things, especially in the creative industries. I don't get me wrong, I don't think people should be exploited and just work for free and not get anything back. I don't mean that, but I do think, because we do video production, obviously we get approached like on a weekly basis for people that want work experience or they want to, they want advice or whatever. And, occasionally we'll sit down with someone and we'll have a chat with them, somebody that's like, I don't know, 19, 20, 21 or whatever. And you'll say, well, what have you made? And they'll say, well, I haven't got a camera. And you go, haven't you got a phone? Hasn't your phone got a camera on it? Well, yeah, but I've not got like one of these really expensive cameras. And you're like, well, it's nothing to do with it. You can still go out and make a little program. You can still go and make like a little 5-minute documentary about your hometown or whatever it is, and the ones that are successful, and it's the same goes for writing or anything else, they're making stuff or writing stuff all the time, whatever it is, they're producing things and they're getting better and they're learning from doing it. And it speaks much more than, I've been on, I've just done this master's degree, or I've just paid for this really expensive course or whatever it is. Nothing speaks more than actually, well, I've gone and done it and here's what I've made,
It's obsession. It's, obsession does make you valuable, and the right people see obsession and they think, I want this person to be rewarded for it, and I want to connect with them, and I want to mutually feel rewarded from that as well. Yeah, I mean, if you go to the incredibly cynical areas of the industry, and you have a cynical attitude yourself with the way that you're trying to operate, you're probably going to meet people like yourself, and they're going to try and rip you off. And there's plenty of stories out there. But what I love about this is there are far, far more people who are just wonderful, beautiful artists who, you know, it's hard. It is hard. And they are not going to come knocking on your door and say, you know what, I'm going to give you a year's salary to write a script for me, and we're going to go make it, and it's going to, you know, it's going to turn up a huge profit. You know, that's a very difficult world. But they are going to want to appreciate and reward artists like themselves as best that they can, and people have to have faith in that. I'm seeing that now. I am seeing that myself, so I know it's true.
You have to build those bridges, don't you?
Absolutely, you have to show. If you look at the end of the day, this is always said this. People say, I'm going to quit writing. And I'm sorry, but if you can quit writing, that's not an artistic obsession. You know, that's like saying, if someone came up to you and they were a poet or a painter or a photographer, and they said, I'm going to quit because it's not, I didn't make, you know, a year's salary last year off this. I'm not, you know, making easy money. And people would say, that's crazy. I thought you cared about this at an artistic level. Yeah. But screenwriting quite often, and writing in general, you do get this attitude, because a lot of people think it's a very easy way to get rich quick.
Yeah, they do, yeah, although they are deluded.
Yeah. Because the barrier is so low. All you need is a computer and the internet.
And I think that's the thing, that is the funny thing now in general with creative industries. As you say, the barrier has never been lower, but there's never been more people doing it. And you know, it's like, even, you know, take this podcast, take podcasts as an example. I saw a statistic, I've not checked this, but I saw a statistic the other day that right now at this very minute there is over 500,000 active podcasts on Apple Podcasts. That's just Apple Podcasts. That's just on iTunes. And active, you know, so there's stuff being regularly put out every week or every month or whatever. 500,000. So, you know, how can you expect, you know, to just suddenly start doing it and have like a big audience straight away? It's the same as anything else. Same goes for music. Yeah, it's, you know, it's very cheap to record pretty professional sounding music nowadays, and you can just put it on a website or host it yourself or make your own videos or whatever, however you're going to do it. But that doesn't mean that you're going to get a huge audience or that you're going to make lots of money or whatever from it, because it doesn't work like that.
Absolutely, it doesn't. And the fact is, generally speaking, you'd be doing it anyway if you cared. Podcasting, generally the best podcasters are already having these conversations. They just suddenly realise that if they recorded them, there's people who'd like to hear them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
The best musicians out there are playing to themselves, or they're playing in, you know, small clubs and bars. And again, they realise, oh, if I actually record this, put it on the internet, people would like to listen to it.
Exactly.
It's when people look at it and they go, you know what, I could have a podcast and it would be popular and people would love me and they'd respect me and they'd sponsor it and I'd get famous people on. And it's that backward thinking that just doesn't work. And that's when the reward stops. So that's when the reward kills the motivation, because it's not there.
Completely. People buy into passion, as you say, or obsession, as you described it. You know, they can sense it, that energy and the enthusiasm. That's usually what people buy into across any creative industry.
Absolutely.
Completely. Well, that's great. Well, thanks very much for that. Well, I'll make sure that I put Script Revolution in the show notes. I definitely encourage people to check it out. It's really nicely designed and stuff as well. And people can get feedback as well, can they, on there as well?
They can. I'm changing it all the time. You know, just people have to consider that it is just me. I am the programmer, the graphic designer, the developer. I do everything. I run this completely on my own, and I am, at the end of the day, an impoverished and obsessed writer myself, trying to juggle a bunch of different jobs.
Well, good luck with it, and look forward to seeing how it grows. And I look forward to seeing how your feature scripts and stuff pans out as well.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, but great chatting to you. Thanks a million, CJ. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
There you go, that was CJ Wally, and you should definitely check out Script Revolution and CJ's personal website too, and you can follow him on Twitter at CJ_Wally. But what about you listeners? What are your thoughts on the power of creative obsession? Would you be able to give up writing if push came to shove? Why don't you let me know on Twitter at JUPodcast, and also don't forget to let me know what you think of the show by leaving a review at Apple Podcasts. It takes seconds and helps others find the show. So that's it for this week. Thanks for listening. I'm Wayne Kelly. Happy reading and writing, and I'll see you next time.
Joined up right